Hi, and welcome back to the Awaken Your Wise Woman podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Cush, otherwise known as Biz. Whether you're a new listener or have been tuning in from day one, almost 7 years ago, maybe it is 7 years ago, I always forget. I appreciate that you're here. I appreciate you're here with me. This season feels particularly close to my heart because we are focusing on sensitive women and being highly sensitive. It's such a beautiful thing to be in community with other sensitive souls. And so, if you are highly sensitive, I hope that you are receiving whatever it is you need from the podcast. And I today is tough for me. I think it's a week past the news of the election and the results of the election. And I think I'm just sitting with that. And it has taken me some time. And yes, of course, I've been going through this with everyone as well. But I think recognizing that the grieving is really still very present for me. Another 4 years of an authoritative leader who seems not to care for the needs of others other than people like himself just feels too icky and a little scary, a lot scary. So I just wanted to own that. I just wanted to honor that. If that is where you are, of course, my goodness, of course, I am there with you and feeling it with you. And I'm working on centering and meeting those parts of me with compassion because that's what I need. I need to feel compassion towards myself, but also compassion towards, I'm working towards this, compassion towards the people who are so afraid, so fearful. Yeah, I just am holding space for the fear, holding space for the unknown, what's to come. And again, if you are in this and also feeling similarly, I just want you to know my heart is with you, and there are people out there to lean on, people out there to support you, whoever that might be for you. And my intention this episode was to really talk about my journey of finding an aligned life, a life that really supported me, that really supports my needs, and what that means. Because I think a lot of times we assume if we are making a priority, if we're making us a priority, that means we're being selfish or we're not taking care of others or we're negating other people's needs, and that is not the idea, not my idea of what it means to live an aligned life. For me, I think I realized after my kids had grown and flown that so much of my energy in my relationships, all of my relationships, not just with my kids and in my family, but all of my energy was being put towards others. And it began to impact my health, my well-being, my mental well-being. And so small shifts needed to happen and started to happen once I really began to focus on work and creating this career that I had dreamed of as a therapist. But work became all consuming. And all of my energy was being put into work. All of my energy was being put into other people's agendas. But even when it was work that was centered on my desires, my needs, I was still leaving my needs, my emotional, spiritual, energetic needs behind. I thought if I could create this business that came from my heart, that it would fill something that was empty. I thought that about kids too. When I had kids, I thought if when I have my children, these babies will fill a hole that needed love and compassion and care. And then I think I turned to friends, hoping that friends could fill that void for me as well. So their agendas became my agendas. Their emotional needs became my willingness to step in and help. But all of that became more of a burden than a joy. I began to feel burned out with work. Some of the friendships that I really valued and thought were so aligned with me and my needs turned out that wasn't so. And I think the pandemic and the having to isolate ourselves really highlighted that for me. It really made me see what was missing in those friendships. And honestly, for so much of my life, fear was what drove me. Fear of not being loved, fear of the what if, fear of the unknown. And that takes a toll. If we are running on fear, that means our energetic system, our emotional regulation is always a little bit out of whack or a lot out of whack. And that has taken some time to reset and readjust. The fear kept me small, left me always worrying, not sleeping very well. And I think that's probably when my digestive health issues started to emerge, was when actually I began to recognize how much the fear was ruling my life and started doing things differently. All of a sudden, there were digestive issues that were there, had been there, that I just hadn't noticed. And suddenly they became more present. And throughout most of my life, up until now, like into my 50s, I didn't know what high sensitivity was. I didn't know there was a biological trait, a genetic trait for highly sensitive people, and that this was a thing that was me, right? I didn't know that. And that knowledge, bringing my sensitivity into my awareness and being able to really honor who I am as a highly sensitive woman really changed a lot. But I think because it also came in into my awareness in midlife, it was as if a whole new light had been shed on my past life. A whole new light had been shed on me as a young girl, as a baby, as a young woman, as a teenager, that there was so much that I had held in, so much that I had kept to myself, so many feelings, emotions, experiences that I kept quiet about. That having this new way to see my life, new way to see myself and honor those sensitivities was a blessing, but also it was hard because all of a sudden there was a part of me that wanted to go back in time and fix what hadn't been done right. And honestly, through therapy, that has been a lot of my work, has been a lot of my personal work in therapy, has been to honor those sacred parts of me that were sensitive and feeling things and getting overwhelmed, but didn't know what to do with them, didn't know how to do it any other way. So midlife really gave me insights in many ways. So into my high sensitivity, but also into my internal world, my wounded parts, the healing that I needed to do, and the work that I was dedicated to continue to do. It just gave me insights into how I wanted that to play out. I needed a path to go from here to the rest of my life. I needed a path. I needed a blueprint. I needed a plan for how I wanted to live the rest of my life. And that's been unfolding. We would love to have a plan that's going to be the plan for the rest of our life. But with each step in the journey, the plan shifts and changes and moves and morphs. And I have been honoring that life is changeable. Life is not all straightforward, a linear path. And if I can just take it one step at a time, then I can see what's next. And a lot of the relearning for me was learning to take care of my needs first. So, and that doesn't mean selfishly saying, I don't care what you need to do, I'm doing it my way, because that's very much not me. It meant being able to say, for instance, like if there was a plan to go to a party and it was filled with people I didn't know and it was going to be at a place I didn't know, and that made me feel uncomfortable. Well, in that moment, it wasn't as if I wasn't going to go because this was important to whoever I was going with, right? I had made a commitment. It felt important to go, but I could honor that this was hard. I could take a moment and say, this is going to take me a minute to adjust to this. I might need to hang back a little bit, or I might need to go home early. So being able to voice what I need, even in difficult situations. So putting my needs first in a way that honored me, being able to voice them. And honoring my sensitivity. It has taken me some time to recognize how often it gets activated, how often there are other parts of me that get activated around my sensitivities. So, for instance, like I can really minimize if I'm feeling sick and unwell or even emotionally unwell, it's very easy for me to say, I'm fine, I'm good. Because there are parts of me that learned really early on that to make a fuss, to sort of push back against whatever the plan was, that it was safer to just go along. And so I really am learning to honor my sensitivities. If I feel overwhelmed, to take care of myself. When I work, I've created a schedule that blocks time off from clients and gives me space to rest and reset before I jump into a new client day. And just as important as honoring my needs around work or social occasions, it's really important to honor taking care of my physical self, my energetic self, and my spiritual self. And so that's been a new element that has been added to my living a more aligned life, embracing these parts of me that really want to be seen around the spiritual, the energetic, and my mental health, I think. That it's been really important to honor that I have parts of me that crave learning. There's one, but also that crave diving deep into the more metaphysical aspects of life and living. And so I've been learning to be open to that in this new aligned space of midlife for myself. And along the way, having to learn to love me with all of my imperfections because, well, one, none of us are perfect. And are there things about me that I don't love? Sure, absolutely. But instead of saying, I don't love that part of me, I could say, maybe I don't like that as much as I wish I did. And I love myself anyway. Can I embrace those imperfections of just those bits of me that are just who I am? I think the biggest step forward is knowing that I have choices, that I can center myself to make the choices that work for me. And that's really, really important because if we're living in fear, living in the trauma, we get so hyper focused on whatever the next step is versus what choices do I have? Are there other steps that I could take? Is there another way to do this? And being open and honest with the people that I love and care about. That's always been a challenge with me too. Not the honest part, the openness. I have kept a lot of my stuff in. And I'm learning that is a thing I don't want to do anymore. I want to be able to have a voice and speak my concerns or my joys or my fears or my love openly and honestly. And lastly, in this time of uncertainty, in this time of unknowing what's next, finding my community, leaning in to my community, being present with the people who can hold me compassionately, with care, with kindness, with love. And I think that is the thing we need to hold on to going forward. That we need to build or hold our community close. Whether if you don't have community, finding community. If you have community, holding it close, making it a priority, reaching out to the people you care about, but also being open to them reaching out to you. And that really, really has just become such an important part of what's next for me is continuing to find community wherever it shows up. And I'm going to do a little something different. I'm going to read a poem that from a book that a colleague and dear friend, my friend Megan Dempsey, introduced to me. The book is called I Am Her Tribe. Oop, now you can see the reflection there. I Am Her Tribe by Danielle Dobby. And the poem is Undressed. It's when I slowed down in a space of reflection, I realized that I couldn't save myself by focusing on trying to save others. My work, my healing was only and ever going to begin with myself. And the other poem I wanted to read was called The Practice, Letting Go. My strength is not determined by the heaviness I choose to carry. When I loosen my grip on what once was, I allow myself to experience the fullness of what is now. When I release what no longer serves me, I return to the natural rhythm of my highest self. To be connected to self is to be connected to the very ground I stand on, the foundation where all rises from. My past does not define that I am. It waters my roots and prepares me for where I am going. Again, that's from the book I Am Her Tribe, and it's a lovely little book, and I really think the poems are really quite beautiful. Just take a moment to take a breath with that. Well, thank you for joining me here today. Again, it feels heavy, and yet I do feel a renewed strength to build community, to find others in my tribe, in our tribe, to find others in our tribe, because we as highly sensitive people are going to feel a lot over the next few years. And we need our tribe to hold those feelings, but to also be compassionate and caring and accepting of all of them. Well, I hope you are finding some peace and refuge, and we are in this together. We are going to make it. We are going to be okay. It will be challenging, and we're here. We're here. I will be starting the next round of my group for highly sensitive women. And if that is something, if you are looking to build community, this is a place you can do it. I was so honored that through this challenging time of the election, the group I hosted a few months ago reignited their conversations, and it looks like, although I won't be there, they will be creating their own community. They're going to be meeting up, the people that live locally and nearby each other. And that fills my heart. And so if you are looking to find community, reach out. Reach out. ElizabethCushCoaching.com. There is a group coaching page there that is all about building community for highly sensitive women. Take care of yourselves, and we will connect back here next time on the podcast.